The numbers screamed. Not in a spreadsheet, but in the echoing silence of their crumbling dreams. She's bleeding $62,000 from a marketing cubicle, a drone in the corporate hive. He's pulling $71,000 chained to IT servers, a digital galley slave. Combined, a fat $133,000, top goddamn 25% of American households. On paper, they should be crushing it. They should be swimming in liquidity, drowning in wealth, retirement accounts overflowing, jet-setting to private beaches. The goddamn American dream bought and paid for. Instead, they're ghosts haunting their own lives. Stressed, twitchy, living paycheck to razor-thin paycheck. 2 months of expenses in an emergency fund? That's a generous lie they tell themselves. A flimsy tarp over a financial sinkhole. Last month, when the Honda finally coughed its last mechanical breath, spitting out a repair bill that felt like a mugging, they didn't even blink. Just whipped out the plastic, another chain link forging around their wrists. Both grinding, full-time, sometimes more, the endless corporate maw demanding their souls. Exhausted. They pass each other in the hallway like ships in the night, a few tired hours before the crushing weight of tomorrow descends. And here's the gut punch, the sick, twisted irony that will curdle your blood. They did everything right. The degrees, the careers, the sacred vows, the merged finances, the house, and the decent school district. They followed the playbook, every damn instruction manual handed down from the pedestals of prosperity. So why does it feel like they're drowning in a sea of debt, choked by the very system designed to uplift them? Why does a household raking in over 6 figures feel so fragile, so close to the precipice? If you've ever stared at that combined income figure, the one that makes the banks purr and thought, we make too much goddamn money to feel this broke, then buckle up. Because this isn't just a video. This is an autopsy of the American dream, a confession from the belly of the beast. My name is John. I've spent too many sleepless nights dissecting why 2-income households aren't just treading water. They're often sinking faster than the single-income titans of 50 years ago. If you're a hamster on that wheel, both you and your partner spinning, unable to figure out why the more never feels like enough, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if this raw, brutal truth finally makes things click. Because once you see the trap, you can't unsee it. Here's the thing. We've been fed a fairy tale, a saccharine lie spoon-fed from the cradle. 2 incomes are better than 1. It sounds so mathematically pristine, right? Basic arithmetic. If one poor bastard can keep a family afloat on $50,000, then 2 of them, each pulling $50,000, should not only survive but thrive. They should have a cool $50,000 left over for savings, for investments, for building generational wealth. That's just first-grade addition. Except that's not what happened. Not by a long shot. What actually happened, what twisted and clawed its way into the fabric of modern America, is one of the most insidious financial bait and switches in history. A systemic ambush. And almost nobody, absolutely nobody talks about it. The term for this phenomenon isn't some obscure economic theory. It's a cold, hard label for brutal reality, coined by Elizabeth Warren. Yes, that Elizabeth Warren. Long before she was a political powerhouse, back in 2003 when she was still a Harvard bankruptcy law professor, a shark in the legal waters. She and her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, penned an entire damn book about it. They didn't just speculate. They ripped open the financial guts of over 2,000 families who had filed for bankruptcy. And what they unearthed was genuinely shocking, a truth so ugly it's been buried under mountains of corporate propaganda. Having 2 incomes didn't make families more secure. It didn't build a fortress of financial stability. It made them more vulnerable. It made them more likely to go bankrupt, not less. Families with 2 parents grinding away in the workforce were statistically more likely to crater, to file for bankruptcy than single-income families. Let that sink in. You work twice as hard. You bring home 2 paychecks, 2 infusions of capital. You play by all the rules the modern economy shoves down your throat. You exhaust yourselves, sacrifice family time, bleed out your energy. And for what? To end up more likely to lose everything. This isn't some personal finance screw-up. This isn't because you bought too many lattes. You consumerist hamsters. This is a systemic trap, a finely tuned killing machine designed to chew up and spit out the diligent. And I'm telling you, you're probably standing right in the middle of it, the jaws closing slowly around your ankles. Let me drag you back for a single critical moment to 1970. Because understanding the history isn't just useful, it's the only goddamn way to dismantle this cage. In 1970, about 43% of women had joined the workforce. The typical middle-class family was a different beast. One primary breadwinner, usually the father, a stoic provider. And one parent at home, usually the mother, the general manager of the household. Here's the inconvenient truth that shatters the modern narrative. That single income was enough. Not barely enough, clinging to the edge by a thread. Actually enough. According to the cold, hard data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and Census records, a median single-income family in 1970 could afford a median-priced home. They weren't bleeding 50% of their income to the landlord. They were spending about 25% on housing. They could send their kids to public schools that were actually funded, regardless of which side of the tracks they lived on. Basic health care wasn't a death sentence. Car, food on the table, and still, there was money left over for savings. For a damn family vacation that didn't require a second mortgage. They had financial margin. They had breathing room. And critically, this is where the 1970s family had a tactical advantage, a hidden reserve. If something went sideways, if the primary earner got sick, lost their job, or just wanted to escape the grind, the stay-at-home parent could enter the workforce. That second potential income wasn't spent. It was an insurance policy, a dormant emergency reserve ready to be activated, a hidden weapon in their arsenal. Now fast forward to today. The financial landscape is scorched earth. Female workforce participation has surged to around 57%, and it's even higher among married mothers. The two-income household isn't the exception. It's the default operating system. Over 60% of married couples with children now have both parents clocking in. We've essentially activated that emergency backup plan as our everyday mode of survival. We're running on fumes, using our last resort just to keep the lights on. And here's where the deception, the subtle, slow-motion strangulation, becomes chillingly clear. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median household income in 2023 was about $74,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's significantly higher than the median household income in 1970. We are supposedly making more money than our parents and grandparents did. The numbers look good. The charts seem to indicate progress. This is the dopamine trap of gross income, the illusion of prosperity. But look at what happened to the costs, the gaping maw that swallowed all that extra money whole. Median home prices in 1970, adjusted for inflation, hovered around $200,000 in today's money. The median home price in 2023? A staggering, soul-crushing $400,000 and climbing. Housing costs have literally doubled relative to inflation. Healthcare spending per household has shot up over 600% since 1970, a parasitic leech on your financial bloodstream. Childcare? In the single-income era, it barely registered as a major expense because someone was home. Now, it costs the average American family over $11,000 per child per year, and that's the average. In those coveted high cost of living areas, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 per child annually. A mortgage payment just to ensure your child isn't raising themselves in a gutter. Education costs for college have exploded by over 1,200% since 1980. The fixed costs of merely existing as a middle-class family have not just crept up, they've detonated, while wages have merely sputtered along, a dying ember. And all that extra income from the second worker? Every single damn dollar of it got absorbed, vaporized. The two-income family isn't twice as secure as the 1970s single-income family. They're less secure because their fixed costs metastasized, expanding to consume both incomes. They burned their backup plan, their only escape route, just to keep up with baseline expenses. They traded future optionality for present-day survival. Now, I can hear some of you sitting there, sipping your artisanal coffee, thinking, John, this doesn't apply to me. We're smart with our money. We didn't let lifestyle inflation, that silent killer, eat our second income. And look, maybe you're the exception, the rare species who outsmarted the system. But let me walk you through the cold, hard math of what actually happens to that second income. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. This isn't about judgment. It's about survival. Let's conjure up our trapped couple again. One partner, let's say, pulls in $70,000. The other, $50,000. Combined, a tidy $120,000. Feels like a king's ransom, right? Let's dissect that $50,000 second income. First, the taxman. He's a greedy ghost, hovering, waiting. Because of the way progressive tax brackets are rigged, that second income doesn't get a free pass. It gets slammed. It's taxed at a higher marginal rate than if it were the family's only income. That first $70,000 gets the benefit of the lower brackets. But that additional $50,000, it comes in right at the top of the stack, a fat target. Depending on your state, federal income tax, state income tax, and payroll taxes could easily devour 30 to 35% of it. So that $50,000, your golden ticket, immediately shrinks to something like $32,000 to $35,000 in actual take-home pay. But wait, there's more. The system doesn't stop there. If you have kids, and you likely do because the expectation is that you're building a family, you need childcare. The average cost of daycare in America, about $15,000 per year per child. 2 kids, that's $30,000. You haven't even left the house yet, haven't bought a single coffee, and your precious $50,000 second income is now worth maybe $5,000, a mere shadow of its former self. And we're not done. Far from it. 2 working parents mean 2 commutes, 2 more daily skirmishes with traffic, with rising gas prices, with the relentless wear and tear on your metal cage. The average American commute alone costs about $5,000 per year. Gas, maintenance, the silent killer of vehicle depreciation. That's if you're just driving. If you're shelling out for downtown parking, tack on another $2,000 to $3,000. If you needed a second car, an entire additional asset, just to facilitate this two-income charade, add the car payment, insurance, registration. Call it $8,000 total for that second person's commuting costs. Your $50,000 income? It's now officially negative. You're paying to work. But let's keep going, because the rabbit hole only gets deeper. Two exhausted working parents means less time, less energy, less will for cooking, for cleaning, for home maintenance, for all the invisible labor that a stay-at-home parent might otherwise absorb. Studies, those cold, impartial arbiters of truth, show that dual-income families bleed significantly more on convenience services and pre-prepared foods. They're more likely to hire house cleaners, order soul-sucking delivery, pay for lawn services, buy pre-made meals that taste like cardboard, and eat out more frequently because, let's face it, nobody has the energy to whip up a gourmet meal after a 10-hour day, including the brutal commute. These exhaustion expenses. That's what I call them. The hidden tax on your sanity. Can easily siphon another $5,000 to $10,000 per year compared to a household where one person actually has the time to manage domestic labor. So let's tally this up, this slow motion execution of your second income. That initial $50,000 minus roughly $18,000 for taxes, minus $15,000 for childcare for just one child, minus $8,000 for commuting costs, minus $7,000 for convenience expenses and exhaustion spending. You're at $2,000. That's not a typo. That's not some hypothetical nightmare. The net contribution of a $50,000 second income can realistically be as low as $2,000 per year, maybe less, maybe negative, especially if you're juggling multiple children or living in one of those urban concrete jungles that demands its pound of flesh. One partner is working full-time, sacrificing precious moments with their kids, missing family dinners, grinding through soul-crushing traffic, selling off pieces of their soul, and the household is netting $2,000 for the entire year. That's roughly $8 per workday. That's a measly $1 per hour for their life. And here's the psychological trap, the insidious brain hack. Because the gross numbers look so big. Because you stare at that $120,000 combined income on your tax return, a testament to your collective toil, you feel like you should be doing well. You make spending decisions based on that phantom $120,000. You buy a house based on what two incomes can qualify for, pushing yourself to the edge of the financial abyss. You take on car payments that two incomes can theoretically support. The bank, that smiling shark, looks at your combined income and says, yes, you absolutely can afford this $400,000 mortgage. And technically you can, as long as both incomes keep flowing, forever. As long as neither of you gets sick, or laid off, or burned out, or needs to take care of an aging parent, or has a child with special needs, or hits any of the 1,000 unexpected life events that real, living, breathing humans encounter. This is where the trap snaps shut. This is the moment the metal jaws clamp down, echoing Elizabeth Warren's research with chilling precision. The single-income family from 1970 had something the two-income family today doesn't possess, something far more valuable than a second salary. If the breadwinner lost their job, the stay-at-home parent, that latent insurance policy could find work. It wasn't ideal, it was a sacrifice, but it was a backup. It was margin, it was resilience, it was a lifeline. The two-income family, they've already played that card. Both incomes are already fully committed to the monthly nut, the ever-expanding monster of fixed costs. There is no backup plan. There is no reserve income to activate. If either partner loses their job, gets sick, or simply cannot work for any reason, the family doesn't just lose that income. They often cannot maintain their fixed costs even temporarily because those costs were ruthlessly sized for two incomes. This is precisely why Warren's research found that two-income families were more likely to file bankruptcy. It wasn't because they were irresponsible, splurging on yachts and caviar. It was because they had no margin for error. They were operating at 100% capacity, like a car racing down the highway with no oil in the engine. Everything works fine until it doesn't. And then everything breaks at once, a catastrophic pileup. A 2019 study from the Federal Reserve, a bastion of cold, hard data, found that nearly 40% of American adults couldn't cover a paltry $400 emergency expense without borrowing or selling something. 40%! And many of those people are in dual-income households, raking in solid money on paper. They're not broke because they don't earn enough. They're broke because their expenses, like some insatiable beast, expanded to consume every single dollar of their combined earnings. They are one unexpected transmission repair, one ER visit, one layoff notice away from total financial collapse. They are the hamsters running faster and faster, convinced they're making progress while the wheel itself is sinking into quicksand. And here's what truly, deeply infuriates me. The expenses that devoured that second income weren't luxury expenses. They weren't boats and vacations and frivolous spending, at least not primarily. They were housing. They were childcare. They were healthcare. They were education. They were the system convinced you these were necessities and then monetized them into weapons against your financial freedom. Look at housing specifically, because this is where it becomes terrifyingly clear. In the single income era, families competed for housing based on one income. A family's ability to secure a home was capped by that single earning power. When two-income families became the norm, when the collective purchasing power of the middle class ostensibly doubled, what do you think happened to prices? They got bid up, way up. If everyone suddenly has two incomes, then two incomes become the baseline requirement for that same damn house. And suddenly, you need two incomes just to afford what one income used to comfortably buy. It's like an arms race where everyone escalates, everyone spends more, and nobody, absolutely nobody, actually wins. The real estate agents, the banks, the sellers, they won. You just got played. The exact same phenomenon metastasized into education. School districts are largely funded by property taxes, a grim reality that means the good schools are invariably tethered to the expensive neighborhoods. Parents, naturally, want to provide the best for their offspring, so families started bidding up property prices in those coveted good school districts. Using their two incomes, their combined firepower, they outbid others not for luxury, but for perceived necessity. This created what Warren devastatingly calls the price of admission to good public schools became a $400,000 mortgage, not a $200,000 one. You're not paying tuition directly, no, but you're paying the tuition equivalent and then some in your inflated housing costs. And once you're locked into that mortgage, that ironclad contract, you're locked into needing both incomes forever. You can't go down. You can't go back to one income. The trap is closed. The jaws are bolted shut. Now you might be thinking, okay, John, you've painted a grim picture. But what am I supposed to do? I can't just have my partner quit their job. We need both incomes to survive. And I hear you. That's the brutal, elegant design of the trap. You need both incomes to survive the lifestyle you built around both incomes. It's a self-sustaining financial prison. But here's the mindset shift, the contrarian truth that can crack the code and change everything. You need to start treating the second income like it's temporary, even if, right now, it feels like a permanent fixture of your existence. Here's what I mean. The truly rich, the smart money, they do the opposite of what the system expects. They don't just casually treat both incomes as permanent and guaranteed, inflating their fixed costs accordingly. They approach it with a cold, calculating eye. They buy the house that one income can comfortably afford. They drive the car that one income can support. They enroll their kids in activities in schools that one income can easily pay for. And then they're stuck. They've built a life that requires two incomes to function, which means neither partner can ever stop working, even if they desperately want it, even if life circumstances make it an absolute necessity. They've sold their future for their present. The alternative approach, the escape route, is what I call you ruthlessly structure your fixed costs, your non-negotiable monthly expenses, so they can be covered by one income alone. The second income then becomes entirely discretionary. It transforms into pure optionality, a weapon for building wealth, savings, investments, aggressive debt payoff, or, yes, some measured lifestyle enhancement, but only after the foundation is rock solid. The critical difference, the game changer, is that you could survive without it. You'd have to cut back, absolutely. Life wouldn't be as lavish, not as outwardly opulent. But you wouldn't lose the house. You wouldn't go bankrupt. You'd have the margin, the breathing room, the precious flexibility that modern dual-income families have tragically forfeited. Let me make this concrete, not some abstract theory. Say your household, like our tortured couple, makes $130,000 combined, maybe $75,000 and $55,000. Instead of greedily taking on a mortgage that demands $100,000 or more in annual income to service, you force yourself to take on a mortgage that can be comfortably covered by $60,000. That means driving past the gleaming new constructions, the houses with the granite countertops and the 3-car garages. It means resisting the siren call of status. Instead of 2 crushing car payments, you have 1. Or, God forbid, none. You live in a neighborhood that's maybe slightly less prestigious, with schools that are good, solid, but not elite. You buy the house that one income can afford, and you bank the difference. That's second income, or at least the vast majority of it goes straight into building actual wealth. Emergency fund first, a bulletproof vest against the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Then retirement accounts, maxed out. Then taxable investments, diversified, growing, churning. Every single dollar you invest with that extra income isn't just money. It's buying back optionality. It's buying the flexibility to have one partner step back if needed. To take a career risk, to launch that dream business, to handle a health crisis without triggering financial Armageddon, to be present for aging parents, to actually have a choice rather than being a slave to the mortgage, the daycare bill, the car payments. This requires sacrifice in the short term. It means driving past those nice houses you could technically qualify for, the ones that scream success, but whisper trap. It means explaining to your friends why you're not upgrading your lifestyle, even though you just got a raise. It means resisting the relentless social pressure to spend like a dual income family, because you're strategically building like a single income family. It's lonely, it's hard, but it's the only path to true freedom. But here's the payoff, the light at the end of this financial tunnel. Within 5 to 10 years of this brutal, disciplined approach, something magical happens. The investments you made with that second income start generating their own income. Compounding, that silent, relentless force of nature takes over. And suddenly, you actually have what you thought dual incomes would give you in the first place: genuine financial security. You're no longer 2 job losses away from crisis. You're building wealth, real wealth, instead of merely treading water in a sea of debt. You can make decisions based on what's best for your family, based on your values, rather than what's absolutely necessary to make the next mortgage payment. You become a whale, not a hamster. I want to leave you with one final thought, because I think it reframes this entire conversation, cuts through the noise like a scalpel. The 2-income trap isn't really about income. It's a smokescreen. It's about having. Our grandparents, those stoic single-income families, had something that we, in our supposed prosperity, have carelessly traded away: the ability to absorb a shock, to change direction. To have one partner focus on raising kids or caring for family or pursuing a passion, without the entire financial structure collapsing like a house of cards. We traded that precious flexibility for bigger houses, for nicer cars, for the hollow appearance of prosperity. But appearances aren't wealth. Cash flow isn't security. And 2 incomes aren't better than one if both of them are already spent, committed, devoured, before they even hit your account. The families who thrive financially in this cutthroat modern economy aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who fiercely preserve their flexibility. The ones who refuse to let their expenses expand to consume every last dollar of their income. The ones who've kept their backup plan, their emergency reserve, their optionality, instead of deploying it just to keep up with the Jonesies, those phantom competitors leading you to your financial grave. You can earn your way out of a lot of problems, but you can't earn your way out of a trap you don't even know you're in. Now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it? If this raw, unvarnished truth helped you see your finances differently, if it woke you up, then smash that like button and subscribe for more content that dares to challenge how you think about money. Start tracking every single dollar of that second income for 1 month. See where it actually goes. You'll be shocked. Screenshot this, hold yourself accountable. I'll see you in the next one, ready to expose another dark corner of the financial jungle.